Hey everyone. So I've been beekeeping for about 3 years now, and this is a hobby that I really do enjoy. I like to be able to share it with people, with friends and family, and provide a little bit of education as well as some benefit to nature and to my garden. I enjoy being able to bring in my family and friends to help whenever they're interested. I also really like getting that honey and being able to sell it and barter with it. So today we're going to be deploying 3 bee packages. We did have to restart because unfortunately our bees died from last year. They were hit with a pesticide. So please enjoy this video. So to get started here, I wanted to first fill up my feeder frames, which is a 3-quart capacity simple syrup frame. It's just a 50-50 water and sugar mix, and so those bees will start eating it as soon as they get in there. I then needed to determine the best way to deploy my bees, which would be to dump them. So I took an empty package from last year and figured out how much room I needed in order to keep the package down into the bee box while I was deploying them so that the bees wouldn't get caught in the wind. So you can see I removed a frame there to allow that to happen. I then was ready to start deploying. So this is our first bee package. So I'll take off the top panel, which is just a piece of plywood, and then expose the tin feeder that it comes with. So first what you'll do is remove the tin feeder. It's just a tin can that has sugar water in it. Sometimes they put in like candy or some type of sugary gummy, but this one had sugar water. I then sprayed the bees down a little bit to sort of preoccupy them so that they wouldn't, be too interested in leaving. I sprayed the hive down a little bit so that they could be a little more interested. And of course, this is also just simple syrup spray. So I'm removing the feeder tin, and typically the bees will sort of huddle around it. So I was doing it very carefully not to kill any bees on the way out and squeeze them against the wood, and you can see them there. Next, what you'll do is remove the queen cage, which will have the queen inside, as well as a few nurse bees. You're going to have a ball of bees on the outside of the cage trying to keep her warm. This is a good sign because they likely already like her and they're wanting to keep her, safe and secure. So I'm then going to brush some of the nurse bees off of the top of the queen cage, and I'm going to remove the cork that's in the top. This is a solid cork, so the bees can't eat through this. So I need to remove this and replace this cork with some fondant. I just made this fondant with powdered sugar and a little bit of water. And so once I take the cork out of the top, I'm then going to immediately replace it with a little bit of this fondant. And what they'll do is they'll eat through this fondant over the next couple hours. And once they break through, she'll be able to get free. But by that time, it's going to be cold out. I'm going to have the beehive closed off so that she'll be a lot more willing to stay inside the hive. And most likely the rest of the hive will also want to stay. And that's just a picture of the fondant there that I was using. So once I get the fondant set, I just staple the queen cage to one of the top frames. I'll come back in about a week or two to make sure that she's gone and that they've left that cage, or that she's left that cage. Alright, so now the fun part, we are going to now start dumping the bees into the hive. So like I said, I want to do it directly into the hive. It was about 30 miles per hour, maybe 35 miles per hour wind that day, and I don't think it got above like maybe 65 that day. So it was pretty chilly for bees. It might have even been a little chillier. So you can see I'm kind of shaking them. There'll be clumps of bees that want to, stay together, and so I'll kind of smack it a little bit so that those clumps go down, and you'll see they sort of tumble out there, sort of all together. So at this point, they're kind of confused. There's probably a lot of dead bees in there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bees that die in transit whenever they ship these bee packages. So they're probably going to work to remove some of those dead bees and remove them from the hive. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a few frames just so that it's a little easier for them to get started. and maybe provide a little more warmth in there. You can see I have a queen excluder in between the honey super. Most people don't necessarily put a honey super on top right away, but I decided to use it as a container for the rest of the bee package, or the rest of the bees that were left in the bee package. I wanted to still give them a fighting chance by leaving them inside the hive and allowing them to leave. So actually, before we put the top on, we are going to open up a pollen patty. This is simply just a little bit of protein and pollen and some honey that they can use to really get them, making the right type of honeycomb and producing a lot more bees. All right, so then we put the top on there. And then we'll go ahead and put the very top on. So that's a vent, and then I put the telescoping top on, and then I'll put a cinder block on top, or one of those pavers for your garden, or walkway on top, just to weight it down. All right, well, we've got all 3 boxes deployed, and we have our 3 hives. So yesterday it was pretty windy, and we had a bit of trouble getting these in at first, but then we kind of got a process down, and now they are just building out their new home. They should be a lot more comfortable than they were yesterday. Got a nice sunny day, so they're pretty warm in there, I'm sure now. I had some honeycomb left over from last year, and so they are just going nuts on it. I decided to put some of it out to feed them, but what's interesting is this hive here, the box is actually different than those 2. These are Little Giant, and then this one is a different brand. And so it doesn't have a entrance reducer down here. It's just kind of an open slot. So I'm going to see how this does compared to the other 2, because I'm kind of curious. But the boxes themselves are also different than the frame. You can kind of see the frames at the top is at a slant here, because it doesn't quite fit this box. So I might have to figure something out there. But all 3 of them have a little bit of honeycomb left over from last year, so hopefully they'll start eating some more on each side. But you can tell they're getting to work, and hopefully they're building out a lot of comb down there in the deep brood box, which is that bottom one. And the queen should be mated, so she should be laying some eggs.